evening, everybody, and welcome to the April meeting of the Philipstown Conservation Board. First item of business is let us do William and Emily Duncan, 311 East Mountain Road, nope, excuse me, Lehman and Gherty, 155 East Mountain Road North. Now, we did have a site visit, but unfortunately, it was just myself, Lou, and Max there. So I would suggest, can we get the photos up? I took a few photos.
They rescheduled it.
Yeah,
for Sunday.
we were all, everybody was confused.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought it was important. I mean, you could look at the photos here or up. Yeah, because it's very different than what I expected. I don't know if any of you were involved over the years. We've permitted dredging at a pond off of South Mountain Pass that the Jushians own. This is pretty much very similar, though probably 40% bigger. It's almost like a natural swimming pool. So with that, I'll let
Well,
you
thank you,
begin.
Andy, and thank you and Max and Lou for coming by on Sunday morning. It was a rainy day, and we appreciate you coming by. So you've seen the plans from the last meeting, I think, and Andy took these nice photos, I guess, where you can sort of more clearly see the site. I'm not sure I have too much more to say than I said last time, except I would like to just reiterate 2 points, I think. One is, whether there was a conservation board or not, we would take a sensitive approach to the site. We're doing a small, diminutive structure, 275 square feet, plus about 150-foot square deck on the perimeter, on pilings to lift it up off the ground. No plumbing. Whatever electrical we'll have will be battery operated. There will be no on-the-grid connection. And in addition to that, we hope, should we get approval, that we're very interested in doing something that has architectural merit, in terms of its form, in terms of its rich use of materials, standing seam metal roof, Western red cedar, or perhaps even an ash wood siding, which with what's called a Sho Sugi Ban finish. It's a Japanese flame finish in tones of gray, and the thought being that the tones of gray would act both as a complement to the very green, verdant environment in the summer, and sort of blend in the cool winter months in these tones of gray with the surroundings. So we're very sensitive to the fact that it's a beautiful site and wanting to do something that's integrated, that in essence works with the site or complements the site and does not detract from the site. So. And again, although this isn't part of the electronic files, I'll just pass this around and the board can look at these again. These are those structures in the Canadian North provinces which kind of show these architectural follies that are close to the water, which is kind of an impetus for sort of the thought to the type of architectural folly we would like to do, in addition to showing some examples of Sho Sugi Ban finish. Anyway.
So, as we had discussed, we normally don't allow building within a wetland buffer unless it's absolutely necessary, without mitigation. In this case, it's sort of a manicured setting, so I'm not sure what we can necessarily improve within it. Because the pond, I don't know if the pictures show it well, the pond is basically fed by runoff from the reservoir as well as East Mountain Road North. That's why I'm sort of comparing it to the Jushians' swimming hole. I think there needs to be certain precautions in place during construction, and we had discussed the use of a metal roof rather than any form of asphalt or shingles so that whatever is captured from the roof can flow into the pond and be clean. I don't know what else anybody else might want to add in terms of what we might ask from the applicant.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to make the site visit, but I'm wondering, Max, maybe you can share with us what the habitat is like in the pond? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I would, yeah, I would reiterate Andy's point regarding kind of a naturalized swimming pool. I think you do have, I saw some sunfish in the pond. And you said that it was lined with clay at one point 20 years ago. So, you know, it's fairly anthropogenically driven. I think really any of the sediment that's in the pond now is just accumulated from falling leaves and detritus, just from this general area.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a novel system. They've done an extensive amount of landscaping that they were showing us, both native and ornamental in and around the area. I would leave it to the board's discretion to talk about potential mitigative plantings. I mean, there's always more. There's a lot of opportunity in the manicured areas to do, especially those that are right up against the water body edge, to improve or expand those places. But again, that would be at the board's discretion. I don't necessarily see, other than on principle that they're developing within the buffer, I don't see, like Andy was saying, a direct one-to-one mitigation action that would offset whatever they're doing that they already maybe haven't done with the landscaping on the property. So
Yeah, I mean, we had casually talked about maybe some more pollinators being put in, but in terms of like putting riparian plants in, I think that might actually degrade what's there rather than improve it.
Yeah. My thought to add to the pollinator comment is some of these areas that are mown to short grass, you could maybe make sections that are a little bit taller, kept a little taller, and seeded with like goldenrods, milkweed, things like that. Different, maybe blue stem, different types of grasses, and just kind of create pockets of like little meadow habitat, you know, different mountain mints, things like that.
We're losing butterflies.
Yeah.
At an alarming rate.
Yeah.
So that could help.
Absolutely. I know the clients are very sensitive to the wildlife and to pollinators, and I'm sure they value your input, and we will look forward to working together in that aspect.
What about, I mean, the pond seems very green here. What about some type of aeration system or, you know, something to help kind of maybe, since it's fed with runoff, there's probably getting some nutrients in there that maybe we could consume some other way?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to speak at all to what you're doing to manage the
Once you were
pond.
treating it.
Do you want to come up to the microphone?
We are investigating an aerator for it. I've asked Quality Irrigation, who handles our irrigation from Beacon, to come up with one. Unfortunately, we have no electricity on that side of the road. So they were supposed to be investigating some sort of a solar-powered aerator for us. I haven't heard back from them yet, but that.
I could give you a website after the meeting. There's a website, the Pond Guy, I think the name of it is. They have some big solar systems that you could put in there.
That'd be great.
I mean, off the shelf, like in a catalog, so.
That'd be great, because I've been trying to work on that for several years and haven't really gotten anybody I'm familiar with up here to help too much.
They're really helpful, I mean, I
It's
had them
the
design my filter
pondguy.com
system.
or something. Okay, be glad to look at that.
And also to add to that, you treat the pond with like a bio-friendly, is it like a bacteria or something like
Yes,
that helps
it's-
break down?
They come in, I forgot the name of the company, but it's all bio-friendly, a natural bacteria, it doesn't harm fish, doesn't harm wildlife, doesn't harm any of the vegetation. And they come in these large plastic bowls. You throw them in, they've got enough material inside for 500,000 gallons each one. So in the late July, if the pond starts turning colors and gets too hot and the water goes down, I throw two of those in, and it generally treats it.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, the only question I got is, you're not gonna be running any machines down in there, right? Everything's Could be brought down by hand, you had said?
Yes, at the last meeting, you had asked that question, and the point is, yes. I mean, I think it's a small structure, plan on using the deck of the structure as sort of the staging area, plus having the filter fabric going around the site. But yes, for most deliveries, it's gonna be 2 to 4 people to carry the stuff down. The fenestration facing the pond is probably the one heavy piece, which I think would require 6 people to carry that down. But I don't see any issue with hand carrying the materials down to the site, and it certainly is a concern.
You don't need to run a backhoe down there or anything like that?
No, the piers would be hand dug. I expect we will run into some ledge on some of them, so we will presumably not be getting the full depth, but tying into the ledge, so. But yes, there's no vehicles or heavy equipment that we anticipate or desire to be transported down to the site.
Thank you.
Sure.
And again, what will be the access point, like how, the main, into this area here, from, I see the cars on the road there, is it coming down that hill there, or is there another entrance point?
I think if we could see the site plan, I think we could talk better about that.
Yeah, go back, yeah, that one, go back to the previous one.
Well, we can work with the photos as well, certainly, yeah. It might be easier.
Is that the site plan?
Not that one. Those cars are on a turnout that wouldn't be the access point.
That's the site plan?
That's a different project,
Okay,
but
sorry. Okay.
I think if we just go back to one of the earlier photos, we can talk from a photo. That would be fine, too.
They might have been preloaded and moved.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, do you want to, you can look through these. He'll point out whatever picture we were referring to in this.
Yeah, the egress is somewhat serpentine. The house is on the other side of the road.
And the board, if we're looking at this photo, and I'll turn it around towards the camera, East Mountain Road North comes up around the pond, and so it'd be carrying it down the slope to the side. I'm sorry. So, if we're looking at this photo, which is looking from close to the construction site, the East Mountain Road is at the upper part of the photo. This is a gentle slope here, and it'll be carried down to the site from East Mountain Road at the top of the corner there as it turns.
Is that how, like, on a normal access basis, you would be walking down there?
Yes, it would be,
Okay.
yes.
It's a sloped lawn with no path.
It's fairly gently sloped
Oh,
along
it is
that
gentle? Okay.
contours. Yes, thank you. So if you see where the word east is on East Mountain Road on the site plan, on the smaller scale or the more inclusive plan, that's kind of where the access point would be, and you would walk gently down the slope to the far side of the pond where the proposed structure is to be located. But it's a gentle slope. It would not be a problem to carry items down that.
Okay, I was just thinking about access for the owners, as well.
Well,
like,
yes,
so-
and we had talked about that before, and I think Arthur and his wife, that is the preferred approach point to the structure.
Common sense approach.
The safe approach, too.
Okay, so what about, currently you'll be there for a long time, I know, but at some point this will change hands, and the next person will come into this board and want to make it a bed and breakfast or an Airbnb or something like that. So what can we do? Is there any, like, tools that we can to say, like, this can never be coming back to be putting a bathroom in there or a porta-john or something? Or does that matter?
In terms of the, you're probably more familiar with this, Max, than I am. In terms of the building code, it is a permanent structure, but what is it categorized as? I guess it would be a garden shed, a shed?
I don't know. We'd still need to get a building permit from the code enforcement
We
officer.
need a permit.
Yeah.
I think, Andy, it's basically an accessory structure is the category it falls under, according to the code.
So, I mean, accessory structures do have a wide, I mean, it's a good question, have a wide usage. Here, I believe if somebody wanted to turn it into, a mini residence with a bathroom, they would need to have a septic system, and you'd be back before us. And that
It
would
would
be
be a new
easier.
building permit,
Yeah, and that would be
You would
easier
have
said
to
than
get a
done.
permit
which
for
would
that,
trigger a new
Yeah.
as well as a
wetlands
Board of
permit.
Health approval
Yeah.
Yeah.
for that.
We could just put a note there saying no utilities. They
Yeah.
don't wanna have water.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they don't wanna have.
Right.
just No
It's not our
utilities are
purview.
covered.
To do that. I mean, you can put a note, but it's not our purview. I mean, we don't, that we don't,
well, we could put a note, it's not enforceable.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not, because once the structure is completed, the wetland permit essentially goes away,
Right.
so.
Just in regard to utilities, again, the idea would to have some form, we haven't figured it out entirely, but electric, which would be battery operated, off the grid, but not connected. Just to be 100% clear, I understand.
Solar or something like that? The solar thing?
Yeah, I think possibly solar, although more likely just a battery system, direct battery that rechargeable, that would be plug and play. But we'll have to investigate that more.
So we are gonna have to come up with conditions for the permit, because there's work that needs to be done, particularly on the site plan, but are we comfortable with making a motion to issue a conditional permit?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Shouldn't we?
Still kind of have questions as to classifying this and how to be sure that, like, we're not here again in, the future, or another board is not looking at this set now as some type of rental property. I mean, I've heard some stories, about how things are put in place and then they're not followed in the past, so I think when owners change hands, they have the right to come back to the town and make it, so I'd like to know if there's some, so we're not always in this position if we're making a compromise. If there's some way to ask, or could we ask Steve Gabba or somebody, like, even as a condition of the permit, as like, how do we make sure that we're not creating a new problem, like, okay, it's a baby step.
Right.
So now we got a building for maybe 50 years that's gonna be like this, and then some future board gets it, and now they wanna put a septic there, and it's, grandfathered in, and,
But we can't permit on the basis of what will happen in 50 years,
Yeah.
because who knows? I mean,
that'd be no space left.
at the rate we're going in this country, who knows whether we're gonna be around in 50 years?
Well said.
So,
Conditions
conditions
Right.
could significantly change.
I would just say again, of course, one would have to go through a process you don't have it grandfathered, it's not as of right, and it's unlikely to occur based on the sensitivity
I
of the
mean,
site.
I would suggest, my feeling is, this is my feeling though, that we do issue a conditional permit, and that's one of the conditions, and Max and I will deal with the town attorney to see if there's any additional safeguard that can be put in.
What if if the homeowner was amenable to this, what if we had a small plaque, like a tasteful plaque created and placed somewhere that's not overly visible, but also where someone would notice it and just say, this was built in a sensitive area, changes to this feature of the property will require permitting before this board in the future. And whenever that changes hands, I mean, and you'll see it, maybe you'll be able to see that. I mean, I've heard of that happen. They do those, In other municipalities, I've heard them memorialize even wetland plantings in the same way, where they say this area was planted habitat, this was mitigation, and it, you know,
I've seen that in conservation easements, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen that on, like, as a condition of permitting.
yeah, you could, yeah, there are other,
Something like giving notice of the existence and the limitations of the permit wouldn't be a problem. What you're raising brings to mind the possibility that the law changes in 50 years. You know, I'm probably not going to be here in 50 years, but we wouldn't want a more restrictive use. The town may decide that Airbnb is really the wave of the future, and that it hopes there are more Airbnbs in town. Not that, you know, it's not for me, but it would be awkward to say that this structure built this year is more restricted than, you know, than the law would provide to a new owner.
yeah, I'm referring just to like, I've seen plaques that go along with like an area that is issued by the town that's essentially put in, and it basically just says, you know, for all future use, just as a reminder, whoever this is, this was installed because of X. And that's been standardized across villages. Eric Lynn brought that to my attention years ago. So I don't know. There's creative solutions that I don't necessarily think need to be completely legally thought out.
I appreciate your concern, and I share it, but it does have to come back before the board in any case.
Yeah.
So that in that sense, it is protected.
I know sometimes, once there's an investment, it's harder to say no. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now there's a structure there, it's been 50 years, we're all still on the board, and we're back here again. And, you know, Lou is definitely gonna be there.
I think that.
Thank you.
The best route for this is more enforcement. But that's hard. I mean, that's changing a system, that's, you know, that's creating technological triggers. When someone comes in, they see, you know, like, we had talked about this, like a window popping up and saying, you know, the structure, you know, like, you know, so that, but that's more of a town thing than an applicant thing, you know.
Well, because of the MS4, the town is funding, or being funded to have a GIS system, and that can be built upon over time.
Well, let's hope there can be some
So
technological advance.
I go back once more, are we comfortable issuing a conditional
I
permit?
am.
I am.
So, do I have a motion?
Make a
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the conditions. First, within the plans, I don't think that the safeguards for the building site and sedimentation have been laid out completely. Another condition is going to be the roof and where we're draining the roof to, right?
Right.
I think the plaque is a great idea myself. And then do we want to have a certain area where we're building a pollinator garden?
I would be happy to work with you guys to just pick
Right.
an area that makes sense. It wouldn't be too costly.
No, that would be fine. As you noticed on the west side of the pond, on the other side of the dam, we've done a lot, particularly to attract, you know, to replace pollinators, milkweed, and some weeds that were very popular with the butterflies and the birds. So we've replaced that. On the south side of the pond, which you couldn't see because it's April, it's almost a complete fern garden. So that's in another 2 months or another month, that will be cinnamon ferns, is basically that whole side. So the part that's available would be the part between the proposed structure and the large rock to the south.
Yeah, great.
And that's a
That's where I was
place that would
thinking.
be ripe to put some
Great.
other native plants.
That area caught my eye, so, yeah.
Okay.
What about around the structure when the water's coming off the roof, you know, like some plants around there, certainly, that would, you know, to capture the water runoff, whatever that comes up.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a great point and was part of the development of the architectural plan. If we were to proceed, say, to construction drawings and the points that Andy mentions about the water, the runoff and protection of the site, that will all be expanded upon. It's mentioned briefly within this set of drawings, but would be expanded upon in the architectural set of construction documents, as well as noted within these drawings is the desire to use a standing seam metal roof. So I think we can easily satisfy the requirements that would be conditional that you would like to see.
Anybody have anything else?
Just to consider some nutrient management with aeration, as we mentioned, you're already doing the treatment, which, that's a great, I think that company sells those type of things as well, the balls that you can put in there, so. But I'll write it down the website, I'll just check it and give it to you before you go out.
It's in addition to my pond rake that I use to get things that are close to the shore.
But this website, the company has some pretty good engineering resources that it's free. They'll do like pump flow rates and aeration rates based on the size of the pond and everything, so.
It's called the Pond Guide.
Pond guy, yeah, I'm gonna just check the
Okay.
website, yeah.
Great, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you all for
Thank
your
you.
consideration and
So,
your
and you will be
assistance.
submitting revised plans to us.
To you, not to, before I submit to the building department, to Greg? Or is it the same set you're referring
Once
to?
you get the sediment and erosion control plan done, then we'll submit that with the planting. We can either have that plan, have the planting plan on it as well, and with all the other conditions listed out on it that we'll discuss after this via email or whatever.
Right, so I should be hearing from Cheryl more or less, or yourself in
Yeah,
terms
we
of?
can talk back and
Yeah,
forth.
Okay,
So we'll get a list of the conditions, and then we can respond to them.
Yeah.
Great, great.
all right,
And
thank
then,
you all.
yeah, you can submit that all to Greg, and
Okay.
and then you'll have your wetland permit in hand, so.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, let's go to William and Emily Duncan, 311 East Mountain Road South.
Almost, Bill, almost.
Bob, you're needed.
I'm sure the applicant could, yeah, this was paid.
Okay. Please.
Sorry. So we're looking to put an addition on our house and. Sure. We have a proposed addition that we need your approval to move forward with.
So my question on the plan, and unfortunately, I rarely criticize Beatty and Watson, but a little bit of it was hard to interpret. Where you're putting, part of the house as it exists is within a wetland buffer.
Right.
Right.
So
We understand
the
that.
main white, where the structure where it's mostly white with the black stripes, that's the existing house?
Yeah.
With the deck in the scenic overlay?
So, my question was, we're within the wetland buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Why put the addition there rather than on this side where I think we'd be pulling it?
The wetlands is, you're bringing it towards the wetlands. The dotted, at the bottom
Yeah.
corner, that's the edge of,
So, that's why the plans were confusing.
right.
This
That,
is wetland buffers?
the,
Then what was the cross hash? 'Cause
that's the
I-
wetlands buffer.
That's the buffer, yeah,
If
right.
you, if you zoom out a little bit, the bottom right, the green dots is the wetlands.
Entirely.
Yeah, the whole thing.
The orange mesh is the
All right,
scenic overlay.
now I get it. Yeah, now I get it, because I like, okay. Yikes. Okay. All right, so we're expanding the house.
Yep. We go back to the last applicant, where 50 years ago, someone got permission to put the house within the wetlands buffer, and now 50 years later, I'm here.
There you go.
You ate the first.
All right, so the addition, I'm guessing theoretically is not including another bedroom?
No. Part of it is to get the mechanicals out of the crawl space. The way they built it is you have to crawl under a deck.
Right,
Into a crawl space.
Yeah, no, I saw that within the permit, but, I mean, obviously, the addition you're doing is more than, just to get,
It's a mechanical room, yeah.
it's more than, I mean, it's, you want more space within the house. I
Yep.
understand that. This is, so now I'm gonna go back to, you know, Bob's comment on the last project, where I'm not sure really how we deal with it, to make sure that it's not another bedroom, and thus, the septic field needs to be looked at. I mean, I don't wanna make anything hard on you, but
No,
that's the question that comes up.
It was a 3 full bathroom house when we bought it. I changed one into a half bath.
Right, it's, the way it works with the board, the Department of Health is, it's not the amount of bathrooms, it's the amount of bedrooms.
Okay.
Do you know where the septic field is?
It's in the,
Yeah, okay. So
towards
that,
the wetlands.
yeah, it's in the wetlands.
Have you engaged the DEC at all yet?
Yep.
Yeah, so where are you with that process?
They have my, the joint application. And that's,
Have you
it's
had
under
any
review.
correspondence with them?
Just emailing back and forth, you know.
Yeah. Is your application complete with them, or? have
They haven't told me that it's not.
Okay. When did you send that?
2 weeks ago?
Okay, so you're right in the beginning phases of all that as well? Okay. I mean, my suggestion is that obviously at this point, we need to see it, go there and see the site. I don't know if you want to give the board any background on why you chose the design in the fashion that you did, and maybe not utilize building off the northern portion of the house?
So if you were to go, obviously I can't come towards the septic, otherwise that's just a,
So like to the north there?
so
where
coming
the
coming
buffer
towards
ends?
the wetlands would be towards the septic.
Yeah, but to the north.
If I go off the existing house to the north, the corner is already just under 30 feet to the property line, which is the setback.
You need a zoning change.
The south corner, it's the same thing. One, I'd be coming towards the wetlands, and I'm also close to the setback. So the only way to go was towards East Mountain South, and I'm also restricted because I have my well right there. If you see just outside of the addition, just to the, I guess the north, there's a little round W. Yeah. That's my well.
Yeah, I was just under curiosity, that's sliding everything up that way, where you'd be with a zone, you'd need a zoning change.
Well,
essentially.
the house is, I'm basically just adding behind the existing house with a deck in the front, because the house just doesn't seem to have a proper entry in my eyes. It's,
Yeah, I think we should definitely, obviously need to look at it.
I mean, the photographs you sent us were good, but I do think we need to look at it.
Yeah.
And then we can make a determination. I mean, how close, I know where the property line is, how close is, I guess that would be to the north, is your neighbor's house?
it's pretty far.
It's pretty far,
Yeah.
so that, you know,
My,
Can't see it.
yeah, my one neighbor, the
all right.
neighbor's
so that-
property, his house is actually up around
right,
by,
so if we go out there and we look, and Max's suggestion is to shift it north, you know, and we could send a memo to the ZBA to hopefully make it, if that's what we decide to do, to make it easier for you.
but
that
I don't
might
want
be
to
a
do that
possibility.
because there's a ledge in the back there.
That's why we need to see the property.
So that's gonna be basement?
That's where the mechanicals would go, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's look at it.
Septic over here?
Towards the orange fencing, the crosshair, yeah, that's over on that side.
It's not shown there at all, right? The tank?
They're showing,
yeah,
yeah,
there's a
it
tank
is,
right
it's
there.
just not labeled, that's why I said.
It's just outside of that mesh, yeah, right there.
Okay.
And then the fields, you can see the fields shooting down.
And I'm not clear on where the well is.
Over there,
Well, it's-
the other side of the house.
Oh, I see, okay.
W up there, I think.
Yep, there you go.
Kind of threading a needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's schedule a site visit.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the only other info I would like to give you is just with your correspondence with the DEC, just make sure that you keep track of all that for us as well, because you'll need to submit all that to this board. That'll be definitely a condition of any issuance that we give as well, so.
Are the wetlands flagged now?
Yep.
What
Well,
is-
there's, I want to say 3 of the ribbons are still up. It was done like 4 months ago. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
1 or
just,
2
yeah,
may
check on that, because that's gonna help us a lot when we get up there.
Who did the flagging?
that was DEC.
DEC came
Yeah.
out and did it? So, okay.
Jason from Beatty and Watson met with, I forget the girl's name.
Okay, that's good. That's good for you guys, because they recently changed all the regulations. There's new wetlands regulations, so, that's good that they came out.
Okay?
You want to try to schedule it now since everyone's here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go as soon as this weekend? Next weekend is weekend after is Easter. And then, or the 26th is a Saturday.
And the 26th, I'm out of town. So, I don't know what works. I would say a weekend
I'm good for
morning.
this weekend, but I don't know about you guys, though.
The 12th, Saturday the 12th.
I could
We've
do,
got one, don't we? Do we
no,
have
that
one?
was the one that we were messed up with the dates.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could do Saturday morning or Sunday morning this week.
Sunday works better for me. But I'd go on Saturday if it was better for everyone else.
Yeah, either one,
I could do either this weekend.
so.
Sunday?
Sunday work?
Sunday morning?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that should be okay.
That's
Okay.
the 13th, right?
It's
Can-
on Sunday. I don't know if that makes a difference. We're free.
Any chance you can stake out, is the property staked out at all? The corners of the proposed structure?
No, I could definitely put
Yeah.
paint down.
If you could just put pin flags or some sort of flagging at the like the edge of the proposed deck and then the corner of the house, the addition, if that makes sense, just so we can get a visual on that.
Sorry, what time, 9:30?
With respect to Palm Sunday, are you okay with that?
I'm okay.
You too?
I'll go early.
I'm gonna be out of town.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Okay. 9:30?
9:30.
Okay.
9:30 Sunday.
9:30 Sunday.
You'll send a invite to us? Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay. We'll see you on Sunday. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have, there we go, it's our planning board, Gatekeepers LLC, 3691 Route 9, Cold Spring. Lou and I joined the planning board site visit.
Evening, everyone. We got referred here from the planning board as a major project. I think that's how we ended up on your table. We own in total about 19 acres approximately. Some goes into Dutchess, actually borders the quarry next door, and then we have about 11 acres in Philipstown. We're proposing to utilize about 2 acres right off of the side of our current building. We'd like to develop it. I'd like to be clear, we don't currently have a tenant. Part of the property, we'd like to do some sort of allow a landscape or a site prep tenant to come in, park 3 trucks on gravel, have tenant parking for for vehicles. With the planning board that came over the weekend, we decided to move, there's concrete bins, it would be mafia block for aggregate inert materials. We're gonna move that closer to actually the trucking, truck parking. So really what we're trying to do is something modest to just develop the site a little bit more. Trying to do something without adding any impervious materials or anything like that. Just keep it as much as natural and low key as possible. No trees will be cut down. I know you guys did come, Andy and Lou. So interested to hear what you guys' thoughts are and how we can move this forward.
What we had discussed when we were on the site visit, we definitely want the wetland buffer demarcated. We're gonna have to do a site visit. That's essential. We also had a brief discussion, depending on what type of machinery, what type of business is in there, while on the whole, the Conservation Board pushes for limiting impervious surfaces. If all of a sudden there's gonna be equipment in there, we might very well want to see impervious surfaces, so there is a way to catch any contaminants from going two ways. One is obviously into the water course, but also going straight down into the aquifer.
My thought on that is if we're gonna end up putting down a concrete slab, we're gonna end up doing something far more than this. I mean, this is something to help generate money on the property. An investment like that is, we're maybe looking at like $2,000 a month based off of what we're proposing.
Right.
To just put a slab in, I'd be looking at 5, 6, 7 years probably to do the prep to get. So I'm trying to find something that's modest.
Right, we understand that. The planning board is the lead agency. The other question that comes up, and I haven't been in contact with the planning board, is do they have any reservations in terms of CEQA? Because it is a big parcel, we're talking almost 20 acres, so that if they're approving something, nothing's being segmented. So in other words, if this is what you're planning to do, well, that's pretty much what you're planning to do with the parcel for a good amount of time, versus if you had a thought later on you wanted to subdivide or build a house or do something, discrete plans, detailed plans don't need to be in place, but that does need to be mentioned. So I just, I don't know the property well enough. Lou and I were in a rush to get to another site visit, otherwise we probably would have walked further down the property to see if it's even usable.
So we have the wetlands buffer that goes, pretty much slices our property. The back corner is Dutch's. We don't have access to that. It would actually be Century Aggregate, who has come to us multiple times trying to buy the property. To just give some clarification, we have zero desire to segment it. They've come to us year after year with offers, not interested. To be honest, it feels like at that property, we're almost like in the last Alamo and holding out that alley. We've seen a lot of different properties, proposals, even us as being neighbors. I'm 33. I've been on that property since I was 7. My parents live a 1/10 of a mile there since I was 2. To see what's going on in 9 in that area, it's something that's obviously kind of alarming and concerning. But as someone who's a second generation taking over this property, taxes aren't getting any cheaper, and we're trying to find something that everyone's comfortable with, as well as us who, first and foremost, I know everyone here, loves this area, but we definitely love our land. I've grown on there, spent my whole life on that, in those woods. But there is a wetland buffer that goes through that, so there is no access to any buildable land outside of going to Century Aggregate, which I refuse.
So I think where we're at now is I think we need to do a site visit, and I think what needs to be done prior to that is to delineate the wetland buffer. I mean, what I didn't understand when we were at the planning board visit is obviously what you want to do, you don't want to spend a lot of money on development because you're not going to see a return on investment.
Yeah, and we're not looking to put a structure up or,
Okay,
yeah.
understood. I mean, that clarifies it.
Is this the only plan that you have developed right now? Or are there more
That's
pieces
it.
to this? Okay.
That's it. Like I said, the concrete bins in the front, where there's a tree line that we propose to put in on a berm, that's going to be moved closer to the trucking, parking. They want that for visual. We're fine with that. Really, we're just trying to find compromises across the board and just land on something that works for everybody.
I got it from Andy.
Yeah, I got it from the planning board.
It was online.
And it's funny too, I mean, it's not a reflection on you. You know, we've been putting up berms to hide things. What happens, Lou, in about 30 years when particularly the evergreens we're putting there are unhappy? I'm not sure a berm is the best way to go. But it was funny when I was at the site visit, I'm listening to it, and I'm like,
It feels like this is
maybe
coming.
it's planting a forest and staggering trees so that they can grow naturally, but you put it on a berm, they're gonna last a certain amount of time, and then you're gonna be replacing trees.
To do, if I could address that, the berm was kind of pushed for in some of the pre-meetings from the planning board to help add height to the trees early.
Yeah.
If it was my way, I wouldn't even bother with it, you know?
It's just, I had never thought of it before, and it was brought up, and I'm looking at a few of the berms that have been built, and I'm going, well, they're fine now, but what happens?
They remember Earth.
Yeah.
What's the thought behind this rain garden? Why even put that in?
The topography kind of goes on that area, it kind of slopes down, so we were thinking that just add something to help deal with any potential stormwater management. It kind of sits there, you know, it's already depression. We thought it'd be something nice to add to aesthetics and just add, you know, to the property. Not that I feel like it's needed, but just thought something would be nice to add.
It's about the first, probably 500 feet of the entire property
no,
that I
yeah.
could see as disturbed area.
Yeah.
It's pretty flat and it's disturbed.
And so you'd lay, your initial thought is just to lay gravel down all the way up to the wetlands buffer? Like, do you have a sense of where?
So ideally, it would be just really where that truck parking is. I think it's a 22 by 72. And, yep.
Oh, okay.
And there's already an existing gravel, like it's been there forever. It's pretty hard beaten dirt. So really, we would just want to put the gravel to get to that section, as well as then the concrete bins. The tenant parking, we're going to change from it wrapping around the front. It's actually going to, there's a big oak tree there. We're going to it'll come more at a direct 90-degree off, you know, to the right section of the tenant parking. So we'll stay back from the wetlands buffer even further. That's it. You know, like I said, we're trying to find something modest here that works across the board for everyone, and, you know, definitely pliable in this. And, yeah.
It looks like you have a lot of space to play with moving those wherever, right?
Yeah, and currently that's all really just weeds and stuff. That's where the truck parking is. That's pretty well beaten down and, you know, like disturbed, like he said. There's no trees. We're not removing any trees, anything like that. No clear cutting. So it's a pretty open area.
So take a look at it. Maybe we can come up with a compromise on where it could go.
Yeah.
What was that area used for in the past? Obviously, it was used for something.
It's been, when they originally developed the site, my family bought it in 1999. They had clear cut. Actually, that was all level ground, and our building goes down. They had dug all of that dirt up and deposited on the left side, as well as that used to be all wood chips in the back there. When we bought that, that was like a foot of wood chips, and they just chipped all the trees. So I just think from all the years of not having trees there, we had we had a heavy construction dealership for years. We never stored machinery back there, but I think just from moving stuff around, and it just never grew other than weeds. And like I said, there was probably about a foot of wood chips that lined that whole area. That you would see even where the truck parking is all the way back to the wetland buffer, long gone now, you know, deteriorated. But I think that kept and suppressed anything major from growing there.
So you'll have to get back to us when you think you can have the buffer.
How, do you guys want this with like is this like you want to see one close to where the truck is, or you want the whole thing outlined, like just?
I think we should have wherever, basically, how do I put it? We should probably delineate from, I guess,
Why don't we scribble
'Cause I can
something
put-
on that and give it back to them?
yeah, I mean, it's,
It's hard to see.
I'm assuming the slope, there's no contours on it, I'm assuming at a certain point this goes up.
It goes down.
Goes down.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Yep,
steep
yep.
slopes.
Slowly, it's a gentle slope kind of going towards the back of the property. Right now, if you wouldn't mind, can I step up there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe approach a bit.
Thank you. Right here, there's a current flag already, and I think maybe perhaps if we put another flag out here to delineate the wetlands, that'll give you a good point of reference where the tenant parking is and where it goes off from there. Something like that, or do you want it flagged all the way back? Because we're not proposing to come into this area at all. You know, maybe like our 2 closest points or 3 closest points to the wetlands buffer.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we should be able to see.
Right.
So this goes into woods. We're not going.
Right. Because it's not shown on the map, excuse me. But on top of the water course, there is some wetland sitting back there.
Yes. So the next, actually, the planning board's having us do a tree line
Right.
on it, and I think actually seeing the tree line would help also.
Yeah, but I think that what needs to be done is I think that you do need to get somebody to delineate the wetland.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Because I don't think it's completely obvious, and I think that would be the best way for us to do a site visit.
Okay.
So I don't know, I know you're on the planning board agenda, I believe, for this month. And I think that is probably just setting a public hearing.
Yes.
So we just need to correspond with them and let them know our plans?
Yeah, yeah. I'll take care of that one.
Okay.
So, and basically it's that we want to see a wetland buffer, delineation.
Okay.
So we can give more input to
And
the.
then, as soon as I do that, do we contact you guys and to schedule
Yeah,
the?
so as soon as you can get that done, and we'll do a site visit. 'Cause
Okay.
something tells me you're not gonna get that done for this Sunday. If you do, we'll stop by, because we're gonna be close enough.
I make magic happen. I don't know about that, though.
Yeah.
And the following week, maybe, so, just out of curiosity, you guys typically just do the visits on Sundays?
No.
Generally weekends more
Yeah.
than.
Okay.
more than
We could do a
weekdays.
Saturday, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening. So really, the only other thing we have is, Madeline Ray started putting together a memo vis-à-vis Century Aggregates, that was distributed to everybody. I mean, what's different for us is that this is not occurring within Philipstown, but has the potential to have adverse impacts on Philipstown. So she's watching it for us, and at a certain point, we'll get more details, and we'll discuss it with the town board, because I think somebody will need to make a communication to the Fishkill Planning Board, whether it's the Conservation Board or through the town board or both. I was surprised to see that right now, they have looked at it as an unlisted action, which sort of raises a little bit of a red flag for me personally.
Unlisted action,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. So,
Well, Madeline writes, which means it will go to SECR.
yes, but, but unlisted, you could do a short, not much more
They
than a
could
short
do-
form.
They could do an
Yeah,
EAF.
yeah, so that's why I'm saying it sort of
So they-
raises a red flag for me, because this is it's a big project, and also the water usage is potentially high, not only pollution, but just usage of
Yep,
water for the
washing.
aquifer.
They have the continuous flow of water to wash, wash the aggregates, yeah. Continuous.
So I noticed on notified interested parties is the planning board chair, Neil Zuckerman. So I'm just mentioning that because it looks like they're looking for our planning board to possibly weigh in.
Right.
Oh, well, that's significant.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
So,
yeah, so, I mean,
and I think.
they're,
The
they're,
planning
been
board,
asked
right, and the
to weigh
planning
in,
board is gonna
so-
will send it to us.
Okay. We
Well,
should see what the
they may
correspondence
send it
was.
to us as a referral
So-
and ask for us to opine as well.
We should
but-
contact Neil and see
Yeah.
what the correspondence was.
They've already been called out
Yeah,
as representatives of Philipstown.
yeah.
The consideration is, I'm assuming has to do with Clove Creek and its impact on
Well,
Clove Creek.
it's also the aquifer too, once more. So, and unfortunately, this is a case where town lines really don't mean anything in terms of what the impact is. So,
I think Beacon has more skin in the game than even us.
yes, I think they do. I think they do, and,
They were not noted.
no, I find that interesting because I do hear from Sergey, who, I can't
Yeah,
think
I
of
was
his
just about
last
to
name.
mention that.
You know, who is head of the conservation.
CAC, yeah.
And they're very concerned about this. And, you know, it does affect their water supply, and to my knowledge, parts of Fishkill do get their water from the Beacon system.
But even the Watershed Alliance that they created,
Duchess
Yeah.
Junction gets their water through Beacon,
you're,
but also Fishkill Creek.
well,
is-
what Andy and I a couple years ago went to a land use conference in Beacon, and it was the initial stages of the formation of the Fishkill Creek Watershed Alliance, which we're a part of.
Yeah.
And Sergey heads.
Yeah.
And obviously this feeds right into Fishkill Creek. So maybe we should reach out to him too.
Yeah.
Or have Madeline connect with him.
She has.
Oh, she has?
She has,
Okay, that's
yeah. I
good.
set them up together.
Oh.
Yep.
That's great.
So, and I'll send a short email to Neil
Okay.
tomorrow. To just make sure this is on their radar.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
I'll just say a quick stormwater update that we had a municipal training yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah.
We were all invited to it, and then I realized that it was in the middle of the workday.
Well, we did that strategically because a lot of the other, non-engaged parties, they're there for work, so we could get them cornered in an office space. But yeah, it went pretty well. Probably the first of many. But we finally were able to kind of really engage the highway department, and code enforcement office was there, and they got to listen to the whole spiel. So everyone's kind of heading in the right direction, hopefully.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Is there a quick summary that we should be knowledgeable about, or is there
no-
something we should read, or?
Yeah, I asked them to share the PowerPoint presentation that the consultant put together, so I'll have a digital copy of that sent around. We can distribute that.
It's pretty self-explanatory, the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
I mean, you guys are, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to, we can send you we have a Google Drive link that kind of houses all things like annual reports, our stormwater management plan. If you're ever interested in looking at that stuff, we can forward that to you guys. And you can pick through and see what you want. I sent a follow-up email to the group, and it had, I listed we have compliance spreadsheets that have benchmark dates, some things, when things need to get done by, for all kind of interested parties and facets of the town that are involved. And then also like our stormwater management plan is really where everything is kind of housed. That's kind of the guiding document along with the permit itself, so. Yeah, other than that, it was basically a training to kind of bring people up to speed on what the program is, kind of the repercussions of not complying with the permit that we're covered under, and, the actionable steps we're taking immediately, kind of some of the opportunities potentially out there for funding. But yeah, it was really a primer for some of those folks that maybe just haven't read through kind of the permit itself, so nothing.
And a lot of it does fall on the highway department.
Yep.
And it's only a small fraction of the town. It's parts of Continental Village.
Yep.
essentially.
Yeah.
So, and I did pass by, because of the detour today, the restroom structure you were talking about.
Yeah.
That is suspicious
Yeah.
on Cortland Lake.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know anything about that building? There's like a changing room, bathhouse there, in the park.
Yeah.
Is that a bathroom or is it just a
It
changing room?
used to be. I mean, it's been a bathroom in the past when we used to go down
Okay.
there. I haven't been down.
I'm just curious if there's a septic system, yeah,
Because it's gotta go somewhere,
yeah,
it does.
so,
and there has to be a
It's like
water
every other
hookup.
septic on Cortland Lake.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's true, we wouldn't be alone.
Oh, yeah, I'm just curious. I
I'm
didn't,
sure it's right there. Yeah.
the only reason that it caught my eyes, because we have to do like a municipal facilities inventory, and that really is the only municipal, like, owned property with features on it that could maybe be considered a facility, in the MS4. All like our highway department's outside of the MS4, the rec center's outside of the MS4. But that one beach area, it's kind of like a gray area in the permit, so.
The clubhouse isn't near there,
Yeah, the clubhouse is across the street.
Is that also town-owned?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, the clubhouse is, and it's
Yeah.
basically on the
big
other side
building.
of the street. But
Yep.
Okay, well, that'll count. That'll count.
Definitely should count.
Yeah.
I think today was quite a bit down from what it was last time I passed it, maybe 5 days ago.
Really?
Yeah,
It's odd.
yeah, I don't know why. So,
All right, well, I'll do some more investigating into that.
anybody else have anything?
So the zoning subcommittee, we're meeting tomorrow, so I don't really have an update other than that we're meeting tomorrow, but we will start looking at the conservation subdivision tomorrow, so as soon as, we get some information, I'll send that along. I made the recommendation, which we mentioned, to just include the kind of the mixed-use oil storage for like kind of consumption on site, but larger volumes, to just follow the same type of aquifer zone requirement that we talked about for the gas station, so that's pretty much what's gonna be recommended. So they'll put that together and bring that back to the town board, I guess, so.
So I have one thing,
I think you're gonna say what I was gonna say.
bring it
Go
over.
ahead.
I don't know whether we were gonna say the same thing. I doubt it. I doubt we were gonna say
Okay.
the same thing. So I've been thinking a lot about recusal and conflict of interest of late, for obvious reasons. And I just wanted to remind my fellow board members that that applies to everybody on this board. Conflict of interest should be at least communicated if there is even an appearance of conflict of interest on anything that's brought before us. So if you own property and it could possibly be affected by somebody's permit that they're seeking, you should at least express that at the beginning of the discussion. If you are a business owner who does business on people's property and you have accepted, financial consideration from doing work on somebody's property, or you are currently doing work on somebody's property, you should acknowledge that whenever an application comes before this board. Just wanted to say that out loud.
Okay, well taken. What I was gonna say is thank Scott for his service, because I
Well,
believe
that was
this.
the next thing.
This was, I know, we're gonna miss you, and we really thank you, and I think I can say that not only in behalf of the board, but the town for your service to us.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Scott, you are an absolute asset to this board.
Well, I think I learned more than I helped, but I appreciate that. I certainly learned about the work and the sacrifice that you people are all making regularly, and particularly some of the heavy lifting that Max and Andy and Cheryl do. It was really an eye-opener, so I appreciate the sentiments, and thank you for allowing me to serve.
We'll miss your thoughtful
We will.
expertise.
Okay, with that, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Minutes?
Minutes.
No, the minutes, because we had a problem with what was distributed. It wasn't consistent with everybody, so we're gonna wait till next month.
What does that mean?
Some-
Everybody got different minutes?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Let's wait till next month. so we do it properly.
Motion to adjourn then?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.